Hi, everybody. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rob.
Rob's delay there. Welcome to Mark and Rob's Sports Showdown. We're going to have a lot of good stuff for you today. Caitlin Clark preview of her first game, and we got 4 games to go over because we didn't have a video yesterday because Rob was busy. And so, so the big news is Caitlin Clark has her. I don't know if it's a long-awaited debut, but she has a debut tonight at 7:30. It's going to be on ESPN. I'm very curious about the ratings, and I'm very curious if they win, and most curious about how she's going to play. A couple factors go into this. Is number one, their shooting guard it got a sore ankle and Mitchell, and so it doesn't look like she's going to play. So I think Caitlin Clark will be playing more shooting guard than point guard because they have a starting point guard from last year, Wheeler. So I think it'll be different as the year progresses because I think they'll have a 3-guard rotation and she'll be switching off between point guard and shooting guard. So I might throw her off because she's used to being more of a point guard. And they're 6-point underdogs against Connecticut because Connecticut had the 3rd best record in the league last year. And Indiana was 9th. They didn't 10th actually. They were like 13-27 and Connecticut was 27-13. And Connecticut has a very good player who was a runner-up in the MVP last year. She actually got more votes than A.J. Wilson. It was a very close 3-person vote. And her name is Alyssa Thomas. She's a forward. And they also have a big front line with a woman named Bonner and Jones. And so they're gonna give Indiana some trouble underneath. They have 3 women that are tall, between 6'2" and 6'4", and so we'll see what happens.
I think it's going to be, with Connecticut's a very good team. So I think it's going to be a little bit rough for Indiana. And I hope that Caitlin, the coach, kind of took her aside and told her what to work on, her game to work on, essentially what we were talking about, a mid-range game and a better shot selection. So we'll see what happens in this game.
By the way, the Las Vegas odds for championship, Indiana, even though they came in 10th last year, is 5th. And the team they're playing, Connecticut, is 4th. So it's interesting. I don't know if that's a little ambitious or they just think people's going to bet on Caitlin Clark. One other thing about Caitlin Clark, I know Rob predicted she's going to do 20, 10, and 10, which, of course, if she does that, she'll get first-team All-Pro. I'm predicting first-team All-Pro, and I'm predicting around 28 and 5. I think she's going to get 8 assists and 5 rebounds. They got a big front line between Boston and Smith, so I don't think she's going to get as many rebounds as Rob thinks, but we'll see what happens tonight. I have no prediction on what she's going to do tonight. I think she'll play well. So she usually comes up in big moments.
If I was her, just go out there and play. I mean, which I think she's doing. She's avoiding all this other noise, outside noise. She's just going to go out there and enjoy the game that she's been playing for most of her life and forget the outside noise.
Okay, let's move on to the games, the 4 games that took place. They were all game 4s. Boston played Cleveland last night and won 109-102. And Donovan Mitchell, for some reason, I'm not sure what the injury was, but he had an injury and he didn't play.
He had a calf injury. It was a calf injury.
Calf injury? Is that what it was? I forgot what it was. Calf injury.
Yeah,
and
calf injury, yeah.
It was close the whole way, but they pulled it out with a 7-point win. I thought Cleveland had a gutsy performance. And I wish those players that played so well yesterday had played that well in other games because that would give Boston, make it more of a series. I don't think it's a series now because it's 3-1. What did you think of the game, Rob?
Right. Like I said, I mean, the key players are Garland and Mobley. If they play, Mobley, had 19 points, 9 rebounds. And then Garland, which I know he could do, he can go off. He had like 30 points. He had to. And then they started LeVert. Usually he comes off the bench, so they started him, and he had like 19. So they kind of played what, like you said, like they should have been playing before, and it would be probably a closer series. But in the end, Boston came through. Tatum came out.
LeVert started, just so you know.
He seems to come out of his funk. So
yeah, he had.
I just said that. Yeah, I just said that. Usually
he had 19 points, but he started. Yeah, and Strauss had 15, and Mobley had 19. Garland didn't shoot great, but I thought he had a great game. He had a lot of energy. In fact, we were talking about the fastest person in the league, Maxey. I'll say Garland's up there.
Yeah, he's very quick.
He looks amazingly quick especially when he drives to the basket. But he had 7 assists too, and he had 2 steals. I thought he gave him a lot of energy in addition to the 30 points. But I was impressed with how he played, and I was impressed with the whole, Cleveland team, at least effort wise, and ability to stay close to a team that, although they're missing one player, Porzingis, they had plenty of players there that should have been able to win by more than that. Although, Tatum did put in 33 points, didn't shoot great. 2 for 8 from 3, 11 for 25, but he had 11 rebounds and 5 assists and 2 steals and a block. So I can't say, but he had 4 turnovers. So I don't think he had a great game.
Did you see that LeBron was at the game?
I did see LeBron was at the game and with his
wife. Do you think that's kind of? You think that?
Well, the game was in Cleveland, so wasn't that expected to be there? Isn't he expected? Wasn't he there for the third game too? I think he was there for both games. I think he was there both games.
Yeah.
But Jaylen Brown had 27 points and he shot well, 9 for 15, and he was 2 for 3 from threes, and he also had 8 rebounds. So he had a really good game, even though he had 5 turnovers. I think that's my brother's criticism of Boston. They don't, and Barkley said it yesterday. They play too much one-on-one ball, and I think that was probably why they didn't win it by as much yesterday as they could have.
Well, they missed. Well, Mitchell, they missed the 30 points from Mitchell, so that kind of hurt.
I know. Too. Drew Holiday had a good game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 16 points, shot well, 6 for 11, 4 for 8. White's been cold. I think this is the 3rd game in a row he shot poorly. Derek White is cold again.
Yeah.
Hartford didn't contribute that much. But of course, my namesake Sam Hauser, he contributed 2 points and 2 rebounds.
Way to go.
So, there you go. And he got 15 minutes of playing time. It's always necessary to mention Sam Hauser since my name is Mark Hauser. All right.
We always had a saying, get in the books.
Get in the books. So, not too much more to say about that game. But we'll go on to the other game that happened yesterday. And did you watch that game, Rob?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what did you think that game between OKC and Dallas?
Well, it comes down to making your free throws. Got to make the free throws. That's why Dallas lost. Their free throw shooting was
especially down the
horrible.
Stretch. Yeah, there was all game.
It was all game. I mean, their free throws were not good. It was horrible. I mean,
interesting
I think they were like 10 for 20. I think at one point they were like 10 for 20 near the end of the stretch. So I was like, okay, and that's why they lost.
They was 12 for 23, and OKC was 23 for 24. Wow, so that's almost a 10-point difference, and they lost by 4. So I mean, it's actually an 11-point difference, but they had 1 for a free throw, but 1 for a three try. But in terms of them, how many they should have made, let's say even they make 75%, they win the game, right? So
Dockage is only 2 for 9. He was
6 points.
Dockage was only 2 for 9, or I'm sorry, 4. He was 4 for 6, but he missed a key. I mean, he missed a key free throw. He was 2 for 2, and he missed one near the end that could have tied the game up. But so
it's funny in the first half, Kyrie Irving only scored, I think it was 4 points or 5. He had a nice finish with 9 points. He had 7 assists in the first half, and 3 of them were spectacular. I mean, he's got such quick hands, and he's so quick that once he starts driving, because of his speed and agility and quickness, he could be a great passer. And in fact, he should have been a super passer his entire career. But he's always had doesn't get as many assists as he should because the head case. He's one of the most talented people in the league, and he's only made first team All-Pro once and second team All-Pro once. So, but he should be one of the top 10 players in the league. And then,
he's one of the best finishers. He's one of the best finishers I've ever seen going to the basket. Either hand, he's amazing.
In the preview of the game, they had some quotes from each players, and he said, "I think I'm one of the most unstoppable players in the world." Well, in the second half, he was 2 for 7, and he missed some easy 2-point shots down the stretch that cost him the game, I thought.
Yeah.
Tim Hardaway's dumb pass didn't help any. He was off to the side, and he passed it to Doncic, even though he was covered and it was intercepted. That was a key.
Yeah,
that was a key turnover there.
Yeah, he's one of those things where when I coached, I would tell my one player, "Oh, hey Johnny, pass to the people. We're in blue. Pass to the people in blue."
That was just a bad play by Hardaway.
It was a horrible pass.
But the thing is, they both had bad second halves. They were both 2 for 7, and they had a lot of turnovers.
Yeah.
So,
and like I said, the free throws really hurt.
Not Kyrie. Kyrie didn't have any in the second half, but Luka Doncic just had too many turnovers. He had.
I'm sorry.
No, he had 3 turnovers in the second half, and whatever. So, sorry, that's wrong. I'm sorry. I was looking at the first half. He had 4 turnovers in the second half, and he was 2 for 7, Doncic. And he had like 2 steals and a block in the first half, but none in the second half. He was actually playing defense yesterday.
Yeah, they were playing. They were in the first half. They were playing defense. I was really surprised. I'm like, wow, they were playing defense. But then the second half, SGA just took over, and
Irving didn't do anything. He had 5 points and 2 assists, but he was 2 for 7. He had no assists, no steals or no blocks. He got a lot of fouls. He almost fouled out. He had 5 fouls.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that they choked.
So what do you think? Do you think it's
Yeah, I thought that series was going to be over with. I thought that series was going to be over with if they closed out that game. Now, I didn't ever think the game was over with because it was they never had a really big lead. But I said, if they win this game, they were leading the whole game, and you felt like at home you're more likely to hold the lead, and they didn't.
Right. Yeah, they didn't finish. Yeah.
No, I think the momentum switches back to OKC, and and we should actually mention that SGA had another great game, and he's spectacular. He's a very consistent player. He doesn't shoot 1 for 10 and stuff like that. He was 14 for 27. He only took 1 3-point shot and he missed it, but he doesn't need to. He's so good at scoring 2 points. He doesn't feel he has 3-point shots.
That's why I like him. I mean, he doesn't focus in like most of these young kids or young players now about that 3-pointer. He has an all-around game. He can take it to the hoop. He's got that little mid-range game. Really helps a lot.
And here's the other thing. He had 8 rebounds and 5 assists. And he does all these drives to the basket, and he's handling the ball a lot. And he had 0 turnovers. 0.
Wow.
0 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And Holmgren had 0 turnovers, but Holmgren was finally had 4 blocks, finally came up defensively and more. And he shot a little better. He was 6 for 9 and 1 for 2 and scored 18 points. He didn't play well the last 2 games. But he played well yesterday. So I was surprised. Jalen Williams didn't shoot well, but he had 14 points, and Dort didn't shoot well, but he had 17 points. But
Dort had a nice key 3-pointer that brought them that put them ahead in the game. He had a nice little 3-pointer, and that put them ahead.
No, he plays aggressive defense, so that's why he's out there a lot. And anyways, I thought that was Dallas was great down. OKC was great down the clutch, and it helped not making the free throws and the turnovers hurt Dallas. I think they choked that game away, especially at home where you're more likely to hold a lead. You got the crowd behind you. But now I think OKC's going back home, and we'll see what happens. I don't think Doncic is completely healthy, and again, he was complaining about the refs yesterday, and Grant Hill, who does a nice job doing sports analysis, I thought he pointed that out. He said he's got to stop complaining and get back on defense. And that's the little things that bother me about it. He's a great player. And, he deserved to be third in the MVP voting and all that. But he's overweight, and he always plays better in the first quarter than, say, in the fourth quarter, because I think he gets tired because he's a big guy. He's got a wide body to begin with. So he's always going to be a little bit heavier, and he's tall. But he's got to be aware of that. And as he gets older, it's going to become worse for him. He really needs to drop the 10 pounds.
But near the end, he did make some really nice passes. Near the end, in the end, his shot wasn't falling, and maybe he was hurting, but he made some really nice alley oops when he came down with one time.
He's just a great player. I will say, Irving plays with him well in the sense that Irving knows when to take over, when to not take over. They just neither one of them took over very well. Yes.
No, they couldn't. They couldn't coincide with each other. Yeah.
So, anyway, that was my take on that game. The night before was unfortunately your Knicks playing the Pacers, and I guess you're not going to put your hat on because they lost. So
No, we're going to talk about this game tonight.
you put it on when we talk about game. We'll talk about that game tonight. So not much to say other than Indiana came out with a lot of energy, and the Knicks, I think, were tired from having a lot of injuries and a short rotation. And I'm not sure what to say about the game other than that. You want to say any comment about that?
I have nothing to say. Like I said, I turned away after the first quarter. I knew they were going to lose. I was waiting for one of those games because, like I said, they're shorthanded and injuries. I thought they would get blown out in game 3, so I was surprised. So I knew they're going to get one of those games because eventually it's going to catch up to you, and it was game 4. So I'm like, okay, it caught up to them.
Right. So now we got a series, and Knicks have one advantage going for them besides having 2 games left at home. Because of the schedule, they're only having one game scheduled Thursday night. They're going to have a 3-day rest between Tuesday and Friday. So let's say they go home and win, which they've been doing in the playoffs. They have a 3-game rest to try to get back and try to close it out in Indiana. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not making any predictions. I predicted Knicks in 6. I don't know if they're going to do it in 6, but they look tired. So we'll see what happens. I reserve judgment until I see how much energy they have at home.
Right. I'm going to wait till this game. If they come out, that's been the problem. Almost the games I've watched the whole season. They come out in the first quarter like so flat. It drives me nuts. If you're a Knicks fan, you know they always. There's only a few games where they come out in the first quarter where they really just do well. And then they wait the second and third quarter, and then fourth quarter they almost fade. But it drives me crazy how you got to start the game a lot better than if they start out and they're down by 10 or 12. It's going to be a rough outing for them.
So who do you think's going to win tonight in the Knicks game?
I think the Knicks are going to win because they had. I mean, right after the game, which I liked, the locker room was silent, which means they were kind of pissed off, and then they had a players only meeting, which you call out each other, what you're doing wrong, and they all just say, well, I didn't do this right, I didn't rebound, so once you get together like that kind of meeting could really help them. Also, of course, like you said, the home crowd. In the playoffs, the home team seems to be help out most playoff teams. So,
all right. And the night before again was Denver and Minnesota, and Denver was in control almost the entire game. I think pretty much all the game, right? And they ended up winning 115-107 to tie the series at 2-2. Going back to Denver, where of course they had that slight advantage to be in Maui. And they also got momentum too. What did you think of that? Any analysis from that game, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, they're the reigning champs, and then the Murray's a lot more healthier than he was the other game. So I wasn't too surprised that they won that game. The Denver's just I guess they must have heard what Charles Barkley said when it was over. He said that they were going to get swept, which of course, he just throws things out there to see if it sticks.
Yeah, I have such mixed feelings about Charles Barkley. He's winning all these Emmys as a sports analyst, but he gets a lot wrong, even though he says some very insightful things, and I like him and everything. He's interesting to listen to. But I didn't think it was going to be swept. In fact, I predicted Denver to win Game 3. And in fact, I said I would have been surprised if they did win Game 3, even though the game was in Minnesota. I think, just inevitable they were going to have a good game. And also, they had a 4-day rest, and Jamal Murray was injured. And Charles Barkley and none of their entire TNC staff mentioned that they lost the first 2 games, but Jamal Murray was injured, and that made him less effective against the aggressive defense and the trapping they did. Yes, Game 2 wasn't close. Mm-hmm. I think they would have lost it anyways, but I think they could have won Game 1 if Jamal Murray was healthy, in which case they'd be up 3-1 right now. But they didn't even mention that. They just said, the defense was great in Game 2. I understand that, but I'm surprised they didn't mention that, but is a factor.
And I mean, and Edwards scored 44 points that game. So he did his job.
Edwards is just a great player. I know, like I said, next Monday on our live show, we're going to debate who's played best so far in the playoffs. And obviously 2 people we mentioned and Brunson are up there. They played a good game, Denver, and they seemed to have more energy than Minnesota for the second game in a row, even though Minnesota was at home. Minnesota had more energy than Game 3, but you know what? I don't know if they're inexperienced or what, but you're only playing 7-game series. you got to get up for these games.
Well, Aaron Gordon's what happened is, I mean, he was 11 for 12 in field goals, and so he had like 27 points, and that's definitely helped out for Denver in that game.
Right, but that is an excuse why they didn't have near the energy, say, of game two, energy level of game two. Yeah, Denver played well. I mean, especially 11 to 12. I mean, gosh, usually they win because Porter steps up, but Porter only had 4 points. And Jokic, of course, filled up. I don't think he's stat padding, but he always fills up the stats. 7 rebounds and 7 assists besides his 35 points. And he was 15 for 26. He shot well. Yeah. He had 4 turnovers, but he also had 3 steals. So, and Jamal Murray put in 19, and he shot pretty well. 8 from 17, 3 for 7 for threes. And he had 8 assists and 5 rebounds. He played well.
I don't think it's an energy thing. It's that Denver is the better team. They're the champs. So they had a purpose.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they're probably the better team, but they had identical records this year. So
but in the head-to-head they beat Minnesota 3-1 head-to-head during the season. So, but I mean, this is playoffs now. But I'm just saying during the season they were up 3-1.
Anyway, so I'm torn on who's going to win Game 5 because I think it's really hard to beat a good team 3 times in a row. And Minnesota's a good game, and they're kind of due for a good game, and they're going to be, pissed off at themselves for not winning at home. But Denver looks like the better team with Jamal Murray happy. Jamal Murray happy. Well, he's happy. He's not throwing his knee pads at the ref. But Jamal Murray healthy, and so I guess I'm leaning towards Denver winning Game 5, and I picked him to win in 7. So that's. Seems like the likely scenario right now. Before it didn't look that way after Game 2. What do you think, Rob?
So you think Denver's going to go 7 games, not 6 games?
Yeah, I think Denver's going to win in 7, like I originally predicted. I didn't think they looked that way after Game 2, but I never knew if Jamal Murray was going to get healthy. I don't know. You don't know what these things. And but now I think they're back on track. And they're just the home teams are all going to win the rest of the games. That's my.
I think it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be a great battle. Minnesota's going to get it together, but then, like I said, Denver's going to be ready for for if they're going to make the run at them. So it's going to be a really good series. I think it is going to go maybe 7, probably 7.
Okay, so that's it for that. One other thing she mentioned, Lisa. I forgot to mention Lisa Bluter. Caitlin Clark's coach, she retired. She got out when the coach was good.
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't win a national championship, but she got to the national finals 2 years in a row, having the best player in the country and one of, if not the best player of all time. And she decided to retire at age 63 after 40 years. And, who can blame her? She was a great coach. She won Coach of the Year 1 year, and she was nominated a few times. So good luck to her. She seems like a really nice lady and a very classy lady, and that's all I can say is I could.
Now, I look forward for her to be, one of the analysis for the games. Most likely, someone's going to snatch her up and put her as an analysis for the games.
Sure, because it doesn't seem to matter what age you are, according to as long as Hubie Brown's around. So
I know, my gosh, I love. He is the best. I'm sorry, he may be 2,000 years old, but he's the best. He's one of the best.
I will say he's my second favorite NBA analyst of all time after Doug Collins, who's been nominated for 5 Emmys and for some reason never won. But Hubie Brown is a great analyst, and he doesn't seem like he's 90 years old. You don't see him like drifting out of it or saying dumb things. He was very astute last game. I was
what I liked about him also is like when someone does a nice play, he goes, "Oh, that's a nice pass. That was a great pass." Or that's how if you're watching a game, that's what I do. I go, "Ooh, nice pass."
If you don't know, Hubie Brown was Coach of the Year at least once. I don't know if it was more than that.
I think he was with the Knicks. I think
he's a good coach. He was Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it. Enjoy the games, and we'll have another video for you tomorrow.
Please subscribe.
Yeah, and I forgot to say all that. So please like and subscribe, and if you do subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you get all the other videos. And feel free to make comments, especially intelligent ones and not insulting ones. And, tell your friends and family. And we got a lot of shorts out there for you have a short attention spans. And we have a lot of long videos, too. All right.
All right.
Take care.
Peace out.